Hey guys, welcome back into another video. So, you remember all that rumor that I talked about? What about Halo Infinite possibly switching to Unreal? Well, it looks like that rumor could be false. Again, this comes from a leaker I've never heard of called Spartan. I don't know how reliable it is, so I guess, as I did with the previous video, take this one with a grain of salt. Without further ado, let's get into it. So, the major takeaways from it is, according to him, rumors regarding Halo Infinite ditching the slip space for Unreal are false. Rumors are either false info from the sources of these creators or from the creators themselves. There is an internal team, however, within 343 that is complementing using other engines for new experiences in the Halo series. So yeah, if they're doing like a new type of Halo game that's never been done before, that's not a first-person shooter or a strategy game, yeah, it kind of makes sense why they would debate using a different engine, like Unreal, for example, because for all we know, slip space may not work with a specific type of genre, so if they want to do a game based on a specific genre, they would essentially have to overhaul slip space again, and I doubt they would want to go through that again, or switch to a Unreal or Unity engine for that type of game. Anyway, let's continue. He states that, according to their sources, both slip space and Faber are excellent tools and may even be superior to Unreal and Unity. Faber is incredible, has many superior features, things that it's just better at, such as optimized cutting of 3D levels and assets to support different platforms, and has excellent procedural generational tools, among other things. Faber has very good tools for building the world and experience to manage the placement of elements. AIs are actually predefined by the designers themselves, that are responsible for missions and sections in the campaign. Now let's get to the problems. Despite its many features, it had its fair share of issues as well. Faber crashed several times a day, and when undoing action, there was a 75% chance of the project crashing. If it has crashed, loading assets could take hours, with people taking lunch breaks while assets were loaded, since it takes a significant amount of time. Assets would be extra careful, so they did not have to do that, otherwise they would lose hours of work, because they would have to undo actions. Halo Infinite's Forge may have been delayed due to this, among other things. Spartan states that the prefab system with Faber was very hard to incorporate within Forge, required a lot of extra work, and this is why Forge was offbeat. Yeah, it kind of makes sense why Forge would be delayed, because think about it. It is so advanced that it has its own prefab system, and the fact it would take extra work because of how difficult Faber would be with it, yeah, it kind of makes sense why Forge was delayed a significant amount of time. I mean, think about it. It was originally delayed 6 months, but it actually got delayed a whole entire year. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I think Halo 5's Forge came 2 months after launch, if I remember right. And also, unrelated, Halo 5 had a lot more content at launch compared to Halo Infinite. Maybe that's because of how complex the engine is now, since it was upgraded. Because again, people, slip space is just an overhauled version of Blam. So the problems they had back then, they would still have now. So it's just harder because it's probably more complex than is. Again, I'm not a software engineer, so I'm just talking out of my ass with that one. But anyway, continuing. Spartan says that while all the problems with Faber existed during the game's development, many have now been fixed, but some still remain. Faber and slipspace are in great shape, with Faber stated to be much more faster and stable. There are far few crashes now, and the project quickly recovers. The real problem currently is with manpower. I'll get to that in a second. 343 had many departures worsened by hiring freeze throughout Microsoft. As such, 343 does not have the number of people a AAA live service game needs. Even during development, 343 had to outsource a lot of work. With this ends its first thread, according to them. Although issues did persist during the development, many of the old problems with Faber and slipspace have been fixed. According to their source, the real issue that still causes their problems for 343 is that they are not equipped with the manpower to Halo Infinite. I mean, yeah, it kind of makes sense because, again, this comes back to the whole contractor situation that is notorious throughout Microsoft as a whole. And I say not just Microsoft, but the industry as a whole. Like, contractors is like a big thing within the video game industry. So it makes sense kind of why, again, for those who don't know, basically, again, that slipspace is just based on Blam, just heavily overhauled. So, which kind of makes sense, but yeah. So, anyway, continuing. Slipspace is built for Halo. Spartan argues that Halo games have rich sandbox levels, extensive use of physics engine. Every FPS has a certain style and legacy, and according to him, Slipspace is not only optimized for Halo, but was made for the particular needs of a typical Halo game. He compared this to the engine used by Game Freak. for Pokemon, stating that while it is far from being the best engine on the market, it is adapted and optimized for the needs of a Pokemon game. Forge, Faber, and Halo. Thanks to the leaked Forge build and the many fantastic fan creations Halo uses a Forge, such as a jetpack, destructible environments, and even a new boss. Yeah, I've seen some, and that's crazy what people have done. People have come to realize just how advanced the Forge in Infinite is. It's essentially an engine within solicitors, or essentially an engine within an engine. Many favorite tools have been directly imported into Forge to provide advanced creation options, which would be high impossible to replicate any other engine, at least not to the same level of subspace, especially the physics, among other things. Based on all this, he states that the engine switch, whether to Unreal or any other, will not happen, with those sources also supposedly saying that an engine switch is not on the cards, and I wonder how it is even credible. It makes zero sense from a human tech and business standpoint of view. At this point, for Halo Infinite, as was all content for the game, all future experience for the title are and will be designed through and for subspace. I mean, yeah, because think about it, if they were to switch to Unreal Engine now, they would essentially have to rebuild Forge again, and do we really want that? No, because like it needs Forge like not more than ever at this point. I mean, and the game is almost a year old already, and it hasn't changed much from when the game launched last December. So, yeah, it just wouldn't make sense from any point of view. I guess maybe long term, maybe for the series, maybe you could make an argument for that, but for Halo Infinite, no, it just would not even make any sense, especially with, you know, the rumored Battle Royale, which apparently viewers are actually supposed to hear about that game, but mode already, and the fact that we haven't is kind of telling just how the engines and tools have been causing problems for not only Server 3 but Certain Infinity as well, because remember people, Certain Infinity actually has the tools and everything to do because they're doing the Battle Royale mode, not Server 3, so you kind of keep that in mind. Anyway, to round out this article, here's where the road of engines switch splits into two roads. He states that while during the discussion with their sources they came to know a very small internal team within 343 that is working on a new experience for Halo, whatever that means. This concludes exploration and relevant research and development of different concepts and directions for future Halo medium projects such as VR or even AR as an example. For these new experiences, the team is ruminating on the viability of subspace and possibly switching over to other engines such as Unreal Engine. Aha! So that's where it comes in, depending on the needs of the project and which engine would serve best for it. Again, like I said before, subspace, is designed specifically Halo, and for a new type of game, it might not be suitable for it, so they kind of would have to switch, or just give up on that idea at all. Battle of Spartan then discussed this, supposedly baseless and false rumors about Halo ditching subspace, and basically stating that they're false. They believe that these rumors are indeed fueled by info given to content creators through sources, and there are two possibilities. One possibility is that these so-called sources either gave content creators bits of info and thus incomplete, or gave them very old info that's now too old to be relevant. The other possible case is that the supposed content creators reporting and fueling this rumor are now distorting the words of their source for the sake of fame and clicks, while mixing some true facts as to not be labeled complete liars and to make the rumors more realistic and prone to be believed. I mean, it wouldn't surprise me that people would kind of make stuff up to get attention. I mean, look at there's been plenty of examples of the game industry, these quote-unquote insiders, man, like, come on. But you kind of get what I'm saying, though. So all of this kind of makes sense. And before we kind of close out this video, I want to remind people that Jason Schreier kind of did that big, that quote-unquote expose that he kept hyping up around the game's launch, which it was kind of all we expected. And remember, from that report, it was stated that they really had to cut a significant amount of the campaign. I think it was like 2/3 of it, because it's supposed to be much larger than it ended up being, due to issues with, you ever heard the term technical debt? That's been used a lot when it comes to the subspace engine, and the fact that it still has blame code inside of it, which was notorious, back in the day of being hard to work with. So based on all this, yeah, it kind of makes sense, and that it sounds like they're trying to get their shit together when it comes to fixing the tools, getting them ready, so they won't have to go through this nightmare again, and they can actually have a proper cadence when it comes to content, because they've said in the past that they want to do seasons every 3 months, and that was the plan, if y'all remember, but we've been dealing with these 6 months gap. And remember, Season 3 got delayed to spring of next year, which was a really big setback, and, well, we don't know how that ended up, so... But yeah, so I guess it kind of makes sense. So again, this situation is getting even more interesting. It's going to be interesting to see what else comes of this. So, but yeah, so Battle Royale, we were supposed to hear it by now, and the fact that we haven't, like I said before, kind of is pretty telling of how rough how the technical debt and everything else has been going on behind the scenes at 3v3. So, I guess we'll see what comes of this. But anyway, what do you guys think of this? Let me know down in the comment section below, and if you like this video, hit the like button and consider hitting that sub button, because I will continue to be covering this rumor should anything come of it. And I hope you all enjoyed the video. Until then, have a good one.